A very good evening to all our viewers and welcome to the final edition of Primetime News for the year 2023, coming to you live from our Newsfirst studios in Colombo. I'm Marur Prison. Let's start off with a look at the stories making headlines this evening. Police opened fire at the police during an operation to crack down on underworld gangs. 20,000 suspects arrested during 2 weeks of Operation Yuka. Another inmate of the Marur Prison and dead. Overcrowding of prisons a serious cause of concern. Heavy rains inundate many main roads. Flow of traffic hampered. Sluice gates at many reservoirs opened. Many areas flooded. VAT to hit hard from tomorrow. Price of food and many other items to increase. Price of phones sold at 100,000 rupees to increase by 35%.
Police opened fire at the police during an operation to crack down on underworld gangs. CCD sergeant dead, one other officer injured. 20,000 suspects arrested during 2 weeks of Operation Yuka. Another inmate of the Marur Prison dead. Overcrowding of prisons a serious cause for concern. Heavy rains inundate many main roads. Flow of traffic hampered. Sluice gates at many reservoirs opened. Many areas flooded. That to hit hard from tomorrow. Price of food and many other items to increase. Price of phones sold at 100,000 rupees to increase by 35%.
And now the stories in detail. A bizarre shootout in Waligama this morning resulted in the death of a police sergeant while a sub-inspector was injured. The deceased was a 46-year-old father of two and a resident of Galevala.
Crime Watch.
What were the circumstances that led to the shooting?
According to police, an operation was launched yesterday to arrest several accomplices of the underworld criminal named Harakata. 5 suspects were arrested during this operation and officers of the Colombo Crimes Division or the CCD had arrived in Palana, Waligama at about 2:30 this morning to arrest several other suspects. A group of officers of the Colombo Crimes Division had visited Mathura and several suspects were arrested in Mathura and Colombo as well. These are several individuals who are suspected to be accomplices of Nadun Chintaka. But since there were several other suspects on the list, officers of the Colombo Crimes Division had left to Waligama last night.
What is the explanation of the police?
According to the police, when the officers of the CCD arrived in Palana, they were shot at by a group from inside a hotel. The officers of the CCD had retaliated from inside the vehicle they were travelling in and opened fire towards the direction of the hotel. It is reported that the mobile patrol unit of the Waligama police had also arrived at the scene of the shootout. They only saw the people in the van shooting. It is reported that they did not see any suspect shooting towards the van. The police sergeant in charge of the mobile patrol unit had instructed the officers to shoot. Due to this misunderstanding, they opened fire. They believed that there were members of an organized criminal group in this van.
The officers from CCD who were shot at do next.
2 officers of the CCD who went to Waligama from Colombo were injured in the shooting. The vehicle that was attacked was seized by the police when the vehicle was entering the expressway from Imadua. Since 2 officers in the vehicle were injured, they were admitted to the Karapitia Teaching Hospital. 1 officer had already died upon hospitalization.
Why did the police officers in the van travel to the expressway entrance without going to the hospital?
We questioned the police media spokesperson SSP Nihal Taldua regarding this matter. He said that the officers in the van were trying to rush the injured officers to Colombo along the highway to be hospitalized.
What happened to the CCTV footage of the incident?
When asked about the CCTV footage, the police said that they cannot comment on that matter at this stage.
Who was the deceased police officer?
The deceased was a sergeant attached to the Special Crimes Investigation Division in Dematagoda. He was a 46-year-old father of two and a resident of Galevela.
We
regret the fact that a police sergeant tragically lost his life. However, these investigations will be conducted by the Valigama police inspector under the supervision of the SSP of Mathura. The investigations to arrest the suspects connected to this incident will continue. Only 11 suspects on the list were arrested. The investigations to arrest the rest of the suspects will continue.
The ongoing operation Yuka continues to sweep Sri Lanka with 20,797 suspects already apprehended over the past 2 weeks. The Minister of Public Security currently says that detention orders are in place for 1,018 suspects.
Authorities are currently investigating 189 suspects for illegal asset acquisition. Out of 4,584 registered suspects at the Police Narcotics Bureau and Special Bureau, 1,625 were arrested during Operation Yuka. The total street value of the drugs seized by the police is over 858 million rupees. Along with this operation, the value of the seized property belonging to drug traffickers exceeds 558.5 million rupees. 10 suspects were arrested for the possession of heroin and ice during a raid conducted in the Panadura North Police Division yesterday in conjunction with the ongoing Operation Yuka. The main suspect, who is a resident of Pingwala, Panadura, was arrested while transporting 10 grams and 830 milligrams of ice in a three-wheeler near the Ratuwatta Bogaha in Panadura North. Our correspondent also reported that a small scale, 2 mobile phones and 4,800 rupees were found in his possession by the police. Acting on intelligence reports, the Mawatagama police arrested 3 suspects with mawa and heroin in a raid conducted in Paragahadeniya, Mawatagama. A person involved in drug trafficking in Kakirava was arrested during the Yuka operation conducted in the area. At the time of the suspect's arrest, a hand grenade, a Rambo knife, 720 milligrams of ice, 3 mobile phones and money suspected to be from the sale of drugs were also taken into police custody. The arrested suspect is a 27-year-old resident of Telambugala Mawata, Kakirava. In line with Operation Yuka, shops, 3-wheelers and other vehicles were also inspected in Harliala today.
Presidential battle.
The registration for the 2024 electoral register starts tomorrow. Chairman of the Election Commission, RMAL Ratnayaka, said that the relevant instructions on this have been issued. Previously, the registrations for the electoral register for 2024 was planned to begin from the 1st of February 2024. However, due to the presidential elections in 2024, the chairman of the Election Commission said that a decision was reached to expedite the process. The 2024 electoral register is expected to be released soon.
Presidential battle.
Meanwhile, JJB MP Vijita Herath says that his party leader Anurakumar Disanayaka will achieve a great victory in the upcoming presidential election.
would expect any other than presidential elections. Even Ranil Wickremesinghe can stop. Yes, his presidential election is and the constitution that it must be held between October 17th and October 17th next year. It is a turning point that we have suffered for 75 years. Let's only elect a leader who understands people suffering from this we will definitely make a leader of the upcoming
Presidential battle.
Will the Sri Lanka Freedom Party nominate a presidential candidate?
We still have not yet decided to support anyone as a political party. We will always look at who is the best candidate for the country and who can develop the country. We will act as one party and not decide individually. There are so many candidates to choose from.
Presidential battle.
Opposition leader Sajith Premadasa joined the Javea local government candidate meeting in Mathura and emphasized that he will always stand for justice and fairness.
රුපියල් ප්‍රශ්නයට ඩොලර් ප්‍රශ්නයට සල්ලි ගස් නැහැ වැවෙන්න. ඒක රටට ලබා ගන්න දැක්මක් තිබෙන්නට ඕන දර්ශනයක්.
There is no money tree growing around us to save us from economic issues. To overcome this crisis, the country needs to have a vision, a mission and strategy. A tax tsunami was created today, not just one or two taxes. Instead of collecting the money that was stolen from the thieves for the corruption of this country, they collected the money by taxing 22 million people. Is this fair? Is it right? Our country's income has been stolen. Now the various groups creating news items affiliated to the president are very afraid of this alliance that is being built. Now they are spreading false and misleading news one by one through their newspaper network. At this juncture, I would like to state that the Samagi Jana Balawege is leading the way in building a massive political coalition that will serve the public and which will create a victorious country.
ගොඩනගන්නට සමගි ජන බලවේගය නායකත්වය ලබා දෙනවායි කියන එක මම මේ අවස්ථාවේ ප්‍රකාශ කරන්න කැමතියි.
While the political parties are focused on the election, while the new year dawns, what are the people concerned of the new year? The main concern of the general public is how to make ends meet with the newly revised VAT coming into effect from the 1st January 2024. The Sri Lanka Mobile Phone Importers and Sellers Association says that the price of a mobile phone will increase by 35% from tomorrow.
We can responsibly say that before we didn't have a VAT on the import of mobile phones, so the customer will have to bear the full 18%. In addition, mobile phones are a product that is not manufactured in Sri Lanka. So when importing that product from foreign countries, the import tax or the VAT that was on the price is 15%, and that too has been increased by 3%. Also, when we take the import license, the VAT will also be increased by 3%. Also, a duty on the payment of customs will increase. As a combination of all these things, it has to be increased by a percentage of about 35%. Consumers are affected by this, and it will be mostly felt in the case of expensive mobile phones. Buying an Apple iPhone is a dream for many people. And because of this, it will continue to remain a dream.
Meanwhile, the prices of many goods and services will increase with the revision of VAT starting tomorrow. VAT will increase from 15 to 18% from tomorrow. Accordingly, the price of every product that has been charged for VAT will increase by 3%. Following the VAT revision, the VAT was applied to diesel, petrol and gas, which will cause the increase of the price of many commodities. When the 18% VAT on petrol and diesel became applicable, the 7.5% port and airport tax on the same was removed. Accordingly, 10.5% of tax will be added on the price of diesel and petrol. Meanwhile, VAT was also imposed on gas after removing the 2.5% port and airport tax. The DCSL company announced earlier today that the price of alcohol will increase by 3% from tomorrow. The Sri Lanka Canteen and Restaurant Owners Association says that the price of a tea will also have to be increased by 5 rupees and the price of a packet of rice by 25 rupees. The relevant associations have already announced that the three-wheeler fares, including bus fares, will also be increased from tomorrow.
Another inmate of the Marur Prison has died while receiving treatment at the intensive care unit of the Marur General Hospital.
The deceased inmate was a 54-year-old resident of Valasmulla, Hambantota. The number of inmates who have died due to suspected brain fever has increased to 2.
18 people were receiving treatment due to brain fever in Marur Prison and 3 of them were in the intensive care unit. The first patient who passed away was a 28-year-old man who died a few days ago. After that, there were 2 patients in the ICU. One of them, a 54-year-old man, passed away yesterday. As a result, 2 patients have died. The other 15 patients were in general wards. Out of the 15 patients, 10 have been discharged from the hospital and they were sent to the Marur Prison, so only 5 patients remain. Even the patients who were in the intensive care unit are being treated in the general ward.
Dr. Hemanta Ranasinghe, Director of Health Services at the Marur Prison, said that congestion at the prison has resulted in an increase in the risk of the spread of various diseases.
Been undermined, that whole procurement standards, practices have not been followed.
So if you just look at the women who are earning a decent wage, it is less than 10% of the working age.
Industry where the dollars or the foreign exchange we bring in, there is a cascading effect.
Look at the revenue. So this budget is expecting almost a 45% increase in the revenue.
That it is particularly for Sri Lanka at this time. We have so little leeway.
The People's Platform.
Inflation, exchange rates and the rise and fall of the stock market. Bringing you insights into the business world. Watch the Business Buzz every Tuesday at 9:30 p.m. on TV1.
Welcome back. You're with Newsfirst. The silent protest in Thimirigastaya was held today for the 245th day.
A new year is dawning, and during a time when people are getting ready to welcome the new year 2024, these people are demanding for justice, for their fundamental rights, a system change and a country free of corruption.
Ranil Wickremesinghe, you yourself have said that you will publicly say that you will have the election that is due, the presidential election in 2024. Kindly have it. This is as per our constitution, this is our right. Just like what you did with the local government election, please don't come and tell us there's no funds, so I can't have it.
I heard about this lady who died in the hospital due to negligence. This is the negligence and things that are coming about because of the lack of professional personnel in our hospitals, because a lot of them have left. We had one of the best medical faculties of the world. People used to come from other countries to come to Sri Lanka to see our doctors and visit our hospitals. And now we're having these things happening in our country. I'm only hoping and praying. Tomorrow is the new year. We are hearing there's going to be an election. We are hoping with the ballot that we will be able to bring about the change that our country so desperately needs right now.
Also in local news, Senior Deputy Chairman of the Sri Lanka Freedom Party, Professor Rohana Lakshman Piyadasa, said that the chairman of the SLFP, former President Maithripala Sirisena, will be the presidential candidate of the Sri Lanka Freedom Party.
Presidential battle.
Sri Lanka Andas Pakshi Vidya.
Our leader Maithripala Sirisena will contest the presidential election from the Sri Lanka Freedom Party. We ask for the good character of these presidential candidates to be proved. Who can say they have no murder charges against them? Who does not have charges of fraud and corruption against them? Who can say that they were not involved in murdering journalists? When speaking about these things, our leader can say that he was not involved in murdering any journalist. He has not been involved in enforced disappearances. He has no allegations of being involved in murders.
From Sri Lanka to Buckingham Palace, Dr. Sabesan Sithamparanathan has been appointed an officer of the Order of the British Empire.
Sri Lankan origin pioneer of location tracking technology, Dr. Sabesan Sidambaranathan, has been appointed OBE in the King's New Year honours. Dr. Sidambaranathan, who founded Cambridge company Purvis ID, devised a real-time location tracking system used by NHS trusts, hospitals, aircraft manufacturers and retailers. In hospitals, his system uses electromagnetic fields to track surgical instruments, ensuring they are decontaminated and sterilized properly and available in the right place at the right time. Retailers have also adopted the technology to track stock and enhance click and collective services. An OBE is the second highest ranking order of the British Empire award, excluding a knighthood and damehood, behind a CBE but ahead of MBE. It is a distinguished regional or county-wide role in any field through achievement or service to the community, including notable practitioners known nationally.
I've had this idea for a few years now to go on a quest to try and discover who he was.
Why did you have to go for something like this?
I want them to see this film and say, oh my God, this country is beautiful.
Was there a motive behind this whole documentary to promote tourism?
It was an unintended consequence, I'd say, Maria. So when I started this film, I had an idea of a story. But when I ended it, I had a whole different understanding of who he was.
20 years later, we are still finding every opportunity to honor the genius of the place.
Newsfirst exclusive with writer and director of The Genius of the Place of the Laziz. 5th of January 2024 from 9:30 p.m. onwards on TV1. Streaming live on Newsfirst YouTube and Facebook channels.
Been undermined, that whole procurement standards, practices have not been followed.
So if you just look at the women who are earning a decent wage, it is less than 10% of the working age.
Industry where the dollars or the foreign exchange we bring in, there is a cascading effect.
Look at the revenue. So this budget is expecting almost a 45% increase in the revenue.
That it is particularly for Sri Lanka at this time. We have so little leeway.
The People's Platform.
Inflation, exchange rates and the rise and fall of the stock market. Bringing you insights into the business world. Watch the Business Buzz every Tuesday at 9:30 p.m. on TV1.
Moving on to news overseas, the US shot down 2 anti-ship ballistic missiles fired towards a container ship by Yemen's Houthi rebels in Red Sea.
A US warship has shot down 2 missiles fired from Yemen after responding to a call for aid from a container ship that had been struck in the Red Sea. The US military said the anti-ship missiles were fired from Houthi-controlled areas as the destroyers Gravely and Laboon responded. A US Navy admiral said it is the first successful strike since a global patrol was launched on the 18th of December. The Houthis have been attacking ships in the Red Sea since November. According to reports, the Iranian-backed Yemeni rebel group have claimed its attacks on the vital shipping lane are directed at vessels linked to Israel in response to the war in Gaza.
Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu says that the Gaza-Egypt border zone should be under Israel control.
Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu said that the border zone between the Gaza Strip and Egypt should be under Israel's control, as he predicted the war in the Palestinian enclave and on other regional fronts would last many months. As Israel entered the 13th week of its war in Gaza on the 30th of December, Netanyahu held a news conference where he renewed his promise to eliminate Hamas and bring home all Israelis held captive in Gaza. Israel has said it intends to destroy Hamas in Gaza and demilitarize the territory to prevent any repeat of the October 7th cross-border killing and kidnapping spree by the armed group.
Tensions escalate as Russia retaliates for Belgorod attack with airstrikes on Kyiv and Kharkiv.
Russia said it has targeted Ukrainian military sites in the capital Kiev and Kharkiv in a new wave of drone and missile attacks in days in retaliation for a deadly attack a day earlier on the city of Belgorod. The Russian Defense Ministry says that it had struck decision-making centers and military installations in the northeastern city of Kharkiv after Kiev said that residential buildings, a hotel and cafes had been hit. In the first wave of overnight attacks, at least 6 missiles had hit Kharkiv, injuring at least 22 people and hitting 12 apartment buildings, 13 residential houses and a kindergarten. Most drones were aimed at Ukraine's first line of defense as well as at civilians, military and infrastructure in Kharkiv, Kherson, Mykolaiv and Zaporizhia regions, adding that it destroyed 21 out of 49 attack drones.
Taking a look at weather news here in Sri Lanka, the Department of Meteorology forecasts fairly heavy showers, about 75 millimeters at some places in western, Sabaragamuwa southern and Uva provinces and in Ampara and Batticaloa districts. Meanwhile, the department added that fairly strong winds of about 30 to 35 kilometers per hour can be expected at times in eastern slopes of the central hills and in northern, north central, northwestern, eastern, Uva and southern provinces. Landslide warnings issued to several divisional secretariats in the Badulla, Kandy, Monaragala and Nuwara districts will continue to be in effect.
All 8 sluice gates of the Victoria Reservoir were opened last night. Water is being released to the Ramdenigala Reservoir. Meanwhile, all 8 sluice gates of the Ramdenigala Reservoir have also been opened and water is being released to the Rantambe Reservoir. 10 sluice gates of the Parakrama Samudra have been opened. Water is being released to the Mahaveli River through the Amban Ganga. The Somavatiya holy site has been inundated for 4 days due to this situation. Much needed goods were delivered to the Somavatiya holy site by air today. The afternoon puja at the temple was held today despite the floods.
Well, New Year has already crackled into life in Pacific paradises like New Zealand. We leave you tonight with some stunning visuals from their celebrations. Good night and may your year ahead be filled with joy, hope and countless reasons to celebrate.
Newsfirst wishes you a happy new year.
Newsfirst with the people.